care about is the IP address, TCP or UDP protocol, the port number, and the data. So whether it is coming from the E0 or Wi-Fi Z0, it doesn't matter. So this interface related information is required only when network stack is sending the packet. It is not required when the network stack is receiving the packet. Now, here one information I would like to share here, that is, as you can see, Ethernet driver and wireless driver is calling directly network stack. So there is an API called native_rx. We will show it in our source code as well. That will be called from the Ethernet driver or the wireless driver directly, so that the packet can be passed from the driver layer to the network stack. So here is an example of my system. There are three interfaces, DETH0. This is the interface of my dummy Ethernet driver. Obviously, this is a virtual interface. The second one is ENP0S3. This is the physical interface in my device. And then the LO. This is the loopback interface, and loopback is always the virtual network interface. And as you can see, through ifconfig, we are getting a lot of information about that particular interface. Some of the information are retrieved from the network stack. For example, the IP address, broadcast address, how many packets are sent, how many packets are received, and all that. But on the other hand, some of the information has to be retrieved from the driver. So that is why you can see in our previous slide that from the system call, there is a line directly to the network driver, and that is being done to the IOCTL call. You may all be aware of the IOCTL call. That is one of the way of communication between the user space application and the device driver. So through that, the ifconfig application can retrieve a lot of information from the driver itself, and the rest of the information are retrieved from the network stack. Do you have any questions so far? I hope not.
So you said DETH0 is the virtual interface?
Yes.
So from this ifconfig output, is there any way to tell that this is a
no
virtual interface? Okay, there's no.
Why?
Okay.
Because that is why I'm telling you that the interfaces, whether these are virtual or physical, whether this is, even you do not know from the name that whether ENP0S3 is wireless or Ethernet or Wi-Fi or something like it. You do not know from the ifconfig output at least. So this is actually a network interface, and underlying there is a network driver which is not known to you and which is an abstract layer. So whether this is a physical interface or virtual interface, that is not known to the user space application or even to the network stack.
Okay. All right.
That is the beauty of the layer architecture. Okay, so I'm then moving to the, and there is a example of routing table. Again, I have captured this from my system. Please ignore the third entry. The three entry. Let me first describe the second one, 10.0.20. So this is the so if you are sending any packet whose network ID is 10.0.2, maybe you are sending packet to 10.0.2.5, then the packet will be sent to ENP0S3. So IP layer of the network stack consider this routing table whenever it needs to send the packet, and IP layer itself actually managing this routing table. Although this routing table is visible to the application layer, you can check it, and also you can add some few entries, but these are the default entries whenever the driver is loaded into the system, and through that IP layer actually added those entries in the routing table. So you can see that if the network stack needs to send a packet to say 10.0.2.5, that means it needs to send the packet to ENP0ST. So for that, it will check which driver has the interface ENP0ST. So it will send the corresponding driver function routing to send the packet. Similarly, there's another entry is 192.168.8.0. So if you are sending any packet to 8.x, 123 or anything, so that packet will be sent to the DF0. So that means that packet will be sent to the device driver of the corresponding DF0 interface. But as you know, there are tons of IPv4 address or even IPv6 addresses available whenever you are accessing google.com, YouTube, or anything else. So you are accessing multiple IP address, and adding all the entries of the IP address in the routing table will be a killer. It will consume so much memory in the primary memory that the system may not be able to boot. So that is why the rest of the IP address are mentioned as a 0.0.0.0. So that is the default IP address. And so that means if you are sending any IP address which is not matching with 10.0.2 entry or 192.168.8 entry, that means it will follow the default entry and the packet will be sent to the ENP0ST interface. So that means it will call the corresponding driver function to send the packet. So if we check the routing table position in the network stack, it is in the network layer itself. So it is already always consulted by the network layer, and it is managed by the network layer also. Any more questions so far? No. Okay. Move ahead. So now the device driver. So the device driver has majorly three functionalities apart from initializing the hardware specific information and initializing the network device to the network stack. Because whenever you are installing, because this network stack, this network driver can be developed as a kernel module. So that means during boot up, this driver is not available. So now you are loading the network driver. So that means you are actually creating the interface, and that information has to be shared with the network stack. So those one of the critical job that network driver does, and also another major work is to initialize the network controller. But apart from that, there are three regular events or regular tasks that network driver needs to do. One is to send the packet to the network controller. The other is to receive the network packet from the network controller and send it back to the network stack or forward it to the network stack. And the third is the getting interrupt notification from the network controller. Please note that this interrupt will be generated for various reasons. Number one, and the most common event is to receive the packet. So whenever network controller receives any packet, the network controller generates an interrupt, and that will go via operating system to the network driver, and it checks the packet. The second one is whenever you are plugging out the cable or plugging the cable, that means link is up or down, then also network controller generates some event. Similarly, whenever you are sending the packet for the TX, usually network driver checks whether the packet is sent properly or not. So there's a very popular interrupt called TX done interrupt. So the first one is the RX interrupt. Second is the plug-in, plug-out device status related information interrupt. The third one is the common TX done interrupt. Apart from that, there could be some error happen here during send, during receive, or somewhere else also. So some error related information are also getting shared with network driver by the network controller through the interrupt mechanism. So any question?
I have a quick question here. I'm
Yes.
not sure if it's valid here, but when we say that the network controller on receiving a packet sends an interrupt to the network driver. Now, I was reading up and I read about something called as if there is a high throughput on a network controller, like if a controller or if a network interface is receiving a lot of packet,
Mhm.
interrupt driven IO is not the preferred way. Polling is what the
Correct.
network
You
driver
are you are very much in the right path.
sure. So does
In
that,
yes,
yeah, please
yes.
continue.
No, please continue your question.
Yeah. So my question is, does that switch of interrupt driven IO and polling driven IO happen automatically, or we
No,
need?
no, no. That usually not happens runtime. This usually happen. I mean, again, this is a generic statement. It is not a very you cannot say it as a okay. This is the this is the statement, and this is the way you should work. It always varies. Device that is the basic experience of writing the device driver. The, whatever I'm sharing here is the common thing that you should know. But when you are actually uh, playing with the device driver, you should decide whether polling mechanism is a better choice here or the interrupt is a better choice here. Also, there are various way of handling this interrupt. You may all aware of the bottom half and the interrupt service routine. So that way can also be done. That means, say there are 100 packets coming up at a shot. Okay. So for first packet, the network driver got the interrupt. And what it does in the network service routine, it actually immediately disable the interrupt and then handling the packet. Now, if it does it in this way that it receive one packet, disable the interrupt, handling the packet, send it to the network stack, and then enabling the packet, it will get another interrupt. So that means you can understand for a high throughput system, it will always getting the interrupt. So the CPU will only do the work with the network driver. But in a high supercomputer or any standard PC in our system, in our home, uh, getting packet is very common, but there are some other works need to be done. So what it does, one, as you say, polling method is can be used. The other thing can be done is that whenever network driver is getting the interrupt, instead of reading the one packet only, it will check all the packets that is currently available in the hardware queue of the network controller. So it will receive all the packets at a shot. Maybe there are 100 packets. So it checks whether how many packets are there. Okay, it will see that okay, there are 100 packets. So instead of copying only one packet from the network controller to the network driver, it copies 100 packets. So by this, it actually improves the performance. So the network, so performance tuning in the network driver is very critical. And if that is the case, and it says that okay, interrupt is also not fulfilling the performance that we are expecting, then polling is another way. But polling will be a bad design where packets are not coming so frequently. Polling means you are constantly checking your home whether someone is at the front door or not, someone is at the front door or not. But if very rare or every 1 minute one guest is coming, then there is no point of checking the front door by polling method. Instead of you are putting a calling bell, and that is actually the interrupt mechanism, And whenever guest is coming, they are actually pressing the bell, and now you are entertaining the guest. So it all depends where this system is getting deployed, where this behavior, where this hardware will be used, what is the use cases, and what are the functionalities that the network controller is providing. Nowadays, the hardware are very much powerful. As I said, I have been working in the industry more than 17 years. So I saw a very poor network driver where the inter mechanism is the only way. Nowadays, the hardware has more capabilities. It can more queue in the network controller. It has better inter mechanism. It has it can do some work instead of the network stack. For example, you know that every layer of the network stack, they calculate the checksum, and checksum calculation of every packet requires some time. So nowadays, the network controller has that capability to check the checksum and validate. So that if the work is being done by the hardware, then definitely it will be much faster than if it does by the network stack. So there are a lot of mechanisms to improve the performance, but yes, you are right. Polling is one of them.
Thank you.
Get the answer that you are looking for.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. So any more questions here? It may not be related to the particular slide. You have some other questions also that you can ask. No problem. Okay. I hope not. Yes, proceed. So now, so far we have understood that the major communication point between the network stack and the network driver is the interface. So that has to be created and that has to be shared with the network stack. So the first step is to create that network interface. So Linux kernel maintains a structure called net underscore device, or we used to call them net device. So this net device structure is maintained to for each of the network interfaces. Again, I am saying this network interface could be physical, this network interface could be virtual, doesn't matter. Okay, so you can think it as a linked list. Initially, when the system is boot up and there is no network driver available yet or loaded yet, so then that linked list is null. I'm talking about from the C language. So that is null. And now whenever a new network device is installed and new instance of the net device is created, and that is being done by calling an API called alloc underscore netdev. I will show the source code of my dummy network driver and share with you that how it is being done. Actually, this screenshot is being taken from my driver. So in the alloc, through alloc netdev, we are creating a network device dynamically. And in the alloc netdev API, we need to provide 4 arguments. One is the size of private data. The second and third are usually the interface name. And the third one is a function. So it's a function pointer, which is being populated by this dummy underscore set of function in my code. Again, as I told you earlier that you can have your own interface name. Here I have provided is d_d. So initially this is the first interface. So it is being initialized by 0. So we are seeing the interface name as d_0, but you can provide something like Linux Foundation. So Linux Kernel Foundation. So LKF%D also. So then in that case, you will see a LKF0 interface. The first argument is the private data. Every device has a provision to share some private data with the network stack. This is required in some cases, but this is optional. You may not use it. It is not mandatory to use that. But if you are planning to use this, then you need to allocate some memory in the net device structure itself. So that is why I am just passing the size of my private data structure in the alloc net dev, so that whenever my network device is created, this additional memory will also be created there. And then the function handler, this dummy setup, this function will be called when the initialization with the information sharing with the kernel is done. Then the network stack will call this function to communicate, to start communicating with the driver. This is the first function that they usually call from the network stack. The second one. So once we created the network device using the alloc net dev, we need to inform that to the network stack, or we would like to say that device needs to register this particular net device to the network stack by calling another API called register net device. Here I have intentionally placed a device dense S, this one, because just to inform you that a network device may have multiple network interface. If you are familiar with router in your home or in your office or somewhere else, you may see there are two ports. One is for the WAN, where the internet is connected, and the other is for the LAN, where your LAN devices can be connected through wired. So that means there are two interfaces. One is for the WAN. We can say it as a WAN 0 or ETH 1. And there is another interface called ETH 0. But the underlying device driver could be same. And in most of the cases in our recent router devices, there is actually one instance of driver is running. So driver may have multiple interfaces. Again, if you are running Wi-Fi, then nowadays there are at least two interfaces, one for 2.4 gigahertz and the other is 5 gigahertz. But the underlying device driver is running only one. Only one instance of Wi-Fi driver is running, which is handling both the interfaces. So a network driver may have multiple interfaces, but the reverse is not true. One network interface cannot be for multiple network devices. That cannot be happened. So the registering mechanism is this. We are calling a dev dummy that we get from the alloc net dev and sharing that information with the registering net device. And before that, we need to fill up a set of operation function pointer, so that will be called from the network stack on particular scenario. For example, you are opening the interface, you are closing down the interface, you are sending packet to that interface. So for those, some function of the network device will be called to the function handler. So those set of function handler are actually initialized here. Here, one point that you should be aware when you are developing the network device driver is that as soon as you are calling this register net device, network stack will start communicating with the driver. So make sure that hardware related initialization are already done before you are calling this register net device. Otherwise, you are in a problem. So that is the point that you should note here. And third is, as I said, whenever you are calling this register net device, the kernel or the network stack will call your dummy setup or whatever function you are supplying there is called, and then you need to populate the network device operations handler. This is the line, and you are now assigning some MAC address and all that, and then your driver is now fully ready to start sending and receiving packet, also communicating with the network stack. Any more question, or otherwise I will show you the source code. I'm just waiting for 1 more minute if you have any more questions. Anyway, yeah, looks like there's no more thing. So let me then show my here is the network driver source code. I have already compiled, so let me clean it up. Yeah, you can see this is the main Ethernet driver that I have developed, dummy ethernet.c. This is a dummy setup of the hardware. This is not required in case you have the actual device to communicate with that one. To compile these two driver, I have prepared a makefile, and this test is actually for the testing purpose, nothing else. So before running this test, I am just showing you a step by step what is happening in the case. So let me first compile. So now I have prepared two driver. One is the hardware.ko and the other is the Ethernet driver.ko. As you can see, or you can understand that my Ethernet driver is dependent on the hardware device driver. So I need to first initialize this one, and then I need to install my device driver. So to do that, let me first. Okay, before that, I would like to show that whatever interface currently I am having, only ENP0SC and the local means loopback interface. Okay. Now I am loading the devices. Oh, sorry. Now you can see there is one device, DETH0. But you can see the interface is not in the up state. As you can see, ENP0 is in the up state. So that means it is in the working state. You can send and receive packet through this particular interface. However, this is not yet done. But this interface is now registered to the network stack. That is why through if config, that means it is now, so there's an entry added in the net device chain as DETH0. That is why you are seeing this in the if config output. So if I am seeing the D message so far, let me clear it up. Yeah. Okay. So now I am just going to make it up. DETH0 192.168.8.2 up. Oh, again. So you can see now there's a called dummy open function. Now what it does, whenever actually you are calling if config up, that means there's a system call and it is directly calling one of the function that is being registered to the register net device. So let me now show you the source code, then you will understand. And please interrupt me whenever you have any questions. Yes. So this is the function print that you are seeing here. Here. Okay. And now, if I check it back, this is the register. This is the structure of net device operation that is being populated. And do open function is being populated by dummy open, and this structure actually I assign to the netdev ops. So if I go from initialization routine, let me go through the initialization routine. So this is the init module of my function. So whenever I am loading the driver, this function will be called. And here we are actually calling this dummy init1. Usually hardware specific initialization is being done in this function. After doing that, we are calling this alloc netdev, and in the alloc netdev, we are providing the function, this dummy setup. So now if we go into dummy setup function, then you can see here actually I am assigning this netdev operation. So now it will be clear to you how the information is getting shared with the network stack. And this operation structure has a lot of other information as well, for open, for stop, and the most important part is the start xmit handler. This function is used whenever network stack is sending packet. So what network stack does, it actually checks first, the IP layer first check the routing table, decide the network interfaces which is we going to be used to send the packet, and then say it is DETH0. Then it will check the net device link list and find out which net device instance have the interface name as DETH0. Then it will call the corresponding undo start xmit function. And that means this dummy xmit will be executed. So if you are developing a network interface driver, whether this is a wireless or Wi-Fi, wireless or Ethernet, physical or virtual, this information has to be registered with the network stack. Otherwise, network stack cannot send you the packet or cannot communicate with you or your network device driver. So let me again go back to the source code. So this is the alloc net device. If this is being done properly, then we are actually registering the registering my device to the network stack. So far good? Any question? No. Okay. So then, as I said, there are three jobs of the network device driver. RX.
Question.
Yes. Yes.
What
please.
is this? What is this RTNL link ops?
This is an earlier in the Linux version of the 2.6. This was not there. Currently, this has been included. This is again a link related operations. Sorry. This is actually a link related operation. If you want to do some other kind of job like up and down, then those RTNL operations are required, but you may at this moment avoid, we skip that also, not an issue.
Oh, okay.
Anything?
Yeah, I have one question.
Yes.
When we are registering like alloc netdev, right? At that time we are this dummy setup.
You are echoing.
Actually, somebody has turned on that mic. So now
No,
it's clear.
it is fine now.
So when we are registering that dummy setup, so we are assigning all the hardware related stuff, right? After that,
Mhm.
we are calling this register netdev.
Yes.
So when that routing table will be updated after registering netdev?
After registering, because at this moment the device is not means not registered to the what should I say, to the network stack or the net device structure. So
Okay.
it does not know anything about this one, because the IP address, again, the registered net device is also not populating the routing table, because as you can see, we have shown in the demo that
Yeah.
after installing the driver, currently means there was no IP address, correct?
Yeah,
Because-
correct.
So until and unless you are assigning any IP address, the routing table entry will not be populated.
No, but as per the diagram, what you have mentioned, right? So that routing table is not lying in the register network stack, right?
Routing table is in the network stack, in the IP layer, right?
Okay.
That is what I have shared with you.
It is in the network layer.
Yeah, IP layer.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the case.
Yeah. Okay. So this when we will register this network in the network stack, so that routing table entries will be updated DTH0 device is added.
That is
So
only being done when you are assigning the IP address. In this register net device API, you are not assigning any IP address. You are just adding an instance of net device instance in the net device chain.
okay.
But so that means through if config you can see the interface, but
Okay.
that interface will not have the IP address yet.
Yeah, correct.
That means routing table, there will be no entry for the DETH0.
Okay.
Whenever you are assigning the if config to if config or in some other mechanism, you are assigning the IP address to the interface, then only an entry will be added to the routing table.
Okay.
Because routing table is all about the IP address. So
Yeah,
it's a mapping between IP address and the not IP address, IP mask and the interface. So until unless the interface is having a IP address, there will be no entry.
okay. Yeah, thank you.
And that is actually irrespective of the device driver. Again, that is not the purpose of the device driver. IP address is only required for the network stack and for the network node in the network topology to
Yeah,
communicate from one to another. But from the device driver perspective, IP address has nothing to do. It is just a data.
yeah, yeah. It will receive any data packets, so it will directly transfer to network layer. Then it will
Correct,
verify.
correct. Then it will consider what is the source IP address, what is the destination IP address, and all that.
Discard the.
Correct, correct. Based on the routing table or the firewall settings and various other situations. But
Okay.
but the network device driver will never drop any packet based on the IP address. Again, this is a generic statement.
Yeah, yeah.
Why I'm saying such a generic statement? Because there are some cases in the performance optimization. Actually, I did that in some of my projects where we need to as one of you was asking that polling was a better mechanism in some cases than the interrupt mechanism. So here also in some cases we need to send the packet from getting the packet from Ethernet and passing the packet to the Wi-Fi. Okay, so the usual behavior will be the packet will receive by the Ethernet driver. It will send the packet to the network stack. Network stack will decide based on the routing table, and then it will send it back to the Wi-Fi XMIT function, and the Wi-Fi driver will send the packet. So this will not unnecessary, it will take some time because IP layer of the network stack will do some sanity checking, whether the packet is correct, checksum is correct, and all that. So it will check the IP header. And in some cases, we may know that the packet is correct. We do not need to verify that. Maybe fast sending 10 or 20 packets between the Ethernet and Wi-Fi, and they all know we are good friends, so we can trust each other. Okay, in that case, doing the sanity checking for every packet in the IP address may not be a good option. So we can, in that case, checking the IP field in the driver itself. So this is a kind of hacking. It's a not say, so you are violating the network architecture philosophy, but you may need to do that in order to improve the performance. So you are getting the packet from the Ethernet driver, checking the source IP and all and something like that. You have an entry for that because this is the okay. So this entry is for a good old friend, so we can trust him. So instead of sending the packet up to the network stack, we can directly call the Wi-Fi driver. So there is some patching in between them, and they can call the packet. But usually, this is not done in the driver level. Clear?
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Any question?
Hi. You added two more ops. What can you explain me? Other ops, like there are two ops, not dummy link ops. Can you go up a little? Yeah, here.
Each tool
ops and each tool ops. Yeah.
Yeah. Each tool is the again. This each tool is the for the there is a yes there is an application is called each tool in the application area user space area for that. So if you need to get some information directly from the driver, as we have seen from the system call, there was a direct link between this one. So there is a direct link between system call and the network driver. Correct. So for that, this kind of information is required. So without going through the network stack, you can directly call that. So, but again, this each tools is the each tool specific operation. But again, this is in this case, this is getting called to the network device as you are assigning this particular set of operations to the dev. So this dev is actually an instance of the net device. So here, this is not the case. You are actually assigning this particular operation to the set of function handler to the network device. Let me go through this function. This function actually provides you the driver name and the driver version.
Okay.
Similarly, if you want to know the timestamp related information, so this kind of information can also be retrieved to the driver. So the basic concept that I would like you to have is that a lower layer has to register its set of functions to the upper layer so that the upper layer can communicate with you whenever it is required.
Yeah, okay.
That is the point. So maybe I'm not sure on which Linux version you will develop your device driver. So there may be some different structure also, because every kernel version means a major version, there may be some changes here and there. So, but the basic concept is this.
I have one more. So
Yes.
what was this NCM USB NCM traffic? Will that also create a dummy?
Which one? Which one? Can you tell me the line
NCM?
number?
No, not here.
Okay.
In general. So in our project we use USB NCM.
Okay. So that is the R&D's type of driver.
Okay.
So USB driver means USB device having the capability of sending and receiving network packets, correct?
Correct. Correct.
So kind of USB dongle.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So again, so that means in that case, there will be two layers of the
Okay.
USB driver. What are the two layers? One layer, because to the network stack, it will never know whether this is a USB or Wi-Fi.
Correct.
So whatever information or whatever code I am writing here, you will file same code in the USB in the driver also.
Okay. Okay.
Because that is the communication part between the network stack and the see, for example, this one.
Okay.
So this is the USB driver. Okay. And
okay.
for that, you may have a USB 0 kind of interfaces.
Okay.
So again, from network stack, it will call the XMIT function or XMIT handler of the USB driver if the packet needs to be sent to the USB 0. Correct?
Yeah. Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
So then that means if we again go back to the source code, that means your network driver will have similar kind of registration mechanism, something like here USB underscore XMIT, something like that. Correct?
Okay.
So that means the network stack will call the USB XMIT.
Okay.
So now it will get the network packet from the network stack. But to send the packet, it has to be sent in a USB format.
Okay.
Because USB require a particular packet, particular structure, so that USB can send that packet. Correct? So then you need to
that is
make it compatible to the USB and then send it to the USB module.
Yeah.
The USB hardware layer. Similarly, whenever you are getting the packet from the USB module, you are getting as a USB packet. So you need to convert the USB packet to the network packet and then call it to the network stack.
Okay. Okay. And sorry for one more. I have one more.
Problem. No problem.
So when you do if config DETH 0 IP address up, what actually happens? Were you about to explain that, or I mean?
Yes, I can explain it here.
Okay.
I was not planning to do so, but yeah, no problem. So whenever you are calling this if config DETH 0 something, IP address up or down or MAC address setting something.
Yeah.
What
so
it
I
does
presume
internally?
that you need to call a network layer function.
No, it will actually create a socket, and it will actually call a IOCTL call.
Oh, okay.
Okay. For the if config, it will call an IOCTL call with a particular unique IOCTL number along with the interface name.
Okay.
Okay. So then that information will be sent to the network stack.
Okay.
Via socket. Okay. So network stack will now have the information like, okay, so user application is trying to set IP address 192.168.8.3 to the DETH 0. Okay. So then it will immediately update the net device structure accordingly.
Okay.
And also adding an entry in the routing table.
Okay. Yeah,
also,
that you should be doing here, right? No, is it?
No, I'm not doing that. Those are all be done by the network stack. Because again, network device driver is lying below the IP layer. So it is not handling anything about IP address.
Okay.
Okay, so let me explain one by one. So first, you are calling the if config. Then, so I'm calling an IOCTL. So that IOCTL call will go to the network stack. Network stack will update the net device structure, the IP address, add an entry in the routing table, and then inform the device driver to the open handler.
Okay.
This end-to open.
Okay.
Now the
okay.
order could be different. It may first call the NDO open and then set the IP address, but possibly it will first set the IP address and then do the calling the driver.
Okay.
So now NDO open, what it does, it actually start the queuing mechanism of the net device. So this is again a function provided by the network stack. What it does, it actually telling the network stack that you can now start queuing packet for this particular device. So that means now I am alive. I am now able to get and send the packet.
Okay.
Clear?
Yeah. Thanks.
Any more questions?
So likewise, this dummy close is called when we delete the interface, or
Now, when you down the interface,
okay, when you
you cannot
bring
delete.
it down.
You cannot delete. So if config, you cannot delete or create any interface.
Okay, when we do if config down.
Yes. So that means
Okay.
that at that time dummy close will be called.
Okay.
Interface creation and deletion, it is in the hand of the device driver through network stack, obviously. So whenever you are calling register net device, at that time an interface is created, and similarly there is a counter one, register something like register unregistered, something like that. I forgot that one. Unregistered net device, something like that. So through that one, the device will be deleted. The interface will be deleted. Okay. Yes, this unlinked register. Anyway.
I have a question.
Yes.
What should be the recommended reading for somebody who's trying
Sorry?
to? What should be the recommended reading for somebody who is trying to get into this field, does not have much of a kernel experience, but understands basics here and there? So what should be the approach for a person who does not have hands-on with device drivers as such, but wants to get his hands dirty and get into it?
There could be various PDF books available. I used to read the Linux device driver Rubini book that you can check.
Sure.
And you must first try with the kernel modules. That should be the basic step. And here also Linux Kernel Foundation, I think there will be such similar session where things will be taught for the guys who do not have any experience of working in this domain. So it will be teach from scratch.
Sure. Thank you.
Anything? Okay. So now the driver is up. The device is up. Sorry. We can see this up. Now, if I ping to another IP address, I am now getting a reply from that packet also. How it is getting done?
Xmit.
Huh?
Xmit is calling the Xmit function.
Yes, we are calling that Xmit function, but not only we are calling this Xmit function, that will, because I do not have any hardware. So the Xmit function will not send the packet, right?
Yes.
So what it does, it actually loop back the things to the dummy hardware things. So it will now send the LW hardware TX. This should be replaced by the original hardware driver. Let me explain a little bit about it in the actual situation when what it happens. When the driver gets the packet in the Xmit function from the network stack, it does not send the packet immediately to the hardware. The hardware has a queue. Okay, so you need to copy the packet to the hardware queue. And if you are doing that using memcopy kind of thing, then it will be very performance intensive. You are using CPU too much, and that will make an impact on the performance. Instead of that, if DMA is available, direct memory access engine is available in the system, then the driver actually use the DMA to send the packet from the driver to the hardware. Similarly, DMA is used by the driver when it is getting an interrupt from the hardware. So that means a packet is received by the hardware. So it needs to be copied from the hardware queue to the RAM. And in that case also, DMA is used if it is available. In most of the cases, there are two kind of DMA engine available. One is the internal DMA controller. The other is the external DMA controller. Internal DMA controller means the Ethernet controller has a dedicated DMA engine, which is only for the particular that peripherals, that to Ethernet, Wi-Fi, or something else. And external DMA controller means is you can think it as a shared library, so everyone can use it. Definitely, if you have an internal DMA controller, then the performance could be better. So yes, that is how it is actually done in real cases. Here, actually, I am sending this packet to the hardware layer, and there I am actually adding this packet into a queue. And there is a thread running in my system. Whenever a packet is added into the queue, that queue will be means that thread will be in wake up, and it will dequeue the queue, get the packet, and send it back to the Ethernet driver, my Ethernet driver. But usually this is done through the interrupt or polling mechanism. So here mainly this service routine will be called. Usually in the system where you have the actual physical device, you need to call a function called request underscore IRQ. That function takes two arguments, mainly two arguments. One is the IRQ interrupt number for which this device is interested, say 10, and corresponding a function handler. So then whenever the Ethernet controller invokes an interrupt, the kernel operating system will get the interrupt, and if the interrupt number is 10, then it will call the corresponding function handler, which is being passed during the request IRQ function. So this is usually this dummy ETH RX kind of function. The signature will be a bit different, but the body will be similar to that. So here actually I am doing some modification in the packet in order to successfully do the ping operation. But in normal cases, you do not need to modify the IP header or the protocol or something like that. You only need to populate the MAC address if required, and then pass it to the network stack. But here I am just, if it is ISMP protocol, then I'm actually altering the source and MAC address, means source and destination MAC address. Similarly, I am just swapping the source and destination IP address, and I am receiving the ICMP echo for the ping. So I am making it ICMP echo reply, calculating the checksum, and send it back to the network stack. As I said, the network calling, sending the packet to the network stack can be done using this native RX packet. native RX call. So now the network packet, network stack will get the packet, it will send it back to the application. So that is how this is being done. So if you have any question, we can do this. Any question? No question? That is great. Aditya, are you there?
Yeah, Tathagata. So thanks for the session. So I guess you are done, right?
Yeah, I am done. So I'm just waiting for anyone if anyone has any question. Otherwise, we are done here.
Sure. So guys, if you have any question, any technical question with respect to any network driver and the dummy network driver what we just called.
Can you quickly go over the path from the time you transmit to receiving the packet?
Means
Like,
in my
from
code.
Yeah, in this dummy code. Yeah.
Okay. So let me go to the XMeet
XMeet. So there's
XMeet function.
yeah.
So
So
it is yes,
yeah.
please.
So when you do a ping, right?
Mhm.
In the routing table, it will try to find the exit interface.
Yes.
And
it will
exit
it will find that the DETH0 is the interface that will be used to send this packet.
Right, and then from that it will find this the XMeet
Correct.
function,
Dummy XMeet function.
and then it will call this function. Okay, and then yeah.
Correct. Correct. And now the driver is getting called. Now I have the packet.
Mhm.
So now I am sending the packet to my hardware layer,
Okay.
and it is actually adding the packet to the queue
To a queue.
and then return it back. That TX is done. So the network stack is now free.
Okay.
It get a notification from the driver that the packet is consumed properly. Okay. Now, in the meantime, what it happens in the hardware layer. So here I am running a thread.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So it is checking whether there any entry in the queue.
Mhm.
Okay. So now in the TX path, I have added an entry.
Yeah.
So this function will now success. It is not empty. There is some packet. Now this is called the RX. Okay. So this is called this function. This will dequeue the packet. Okay. And it will call a function handler. This function handler is I'm going back. Here I have provided during the initialization I call this LT request IRQ, okay, and pass this function.
Right.
Now this is the function LT request IRQ. This is the function, and here whatever function I have supplied there, this is being initialized here. Dummy driver RX handler. Okay, so this same function is getting called here. Correct?
Yeah.
That means my dummy ETH RX will be called. Now this dummy ETH RX, I am now getting the IP header from the packet. I'm checking the protocol of the IP header is ICMP or not, because for the TCP and UDP it will be too much work in the dummy Ethernet driver.
Right.
So I'm only interested in the ICMP packet.
Okay.
So if it is ICMP packet, I'm just checking whether it contains the ICMP header or not.
Mhm.
If it does not, then it's a bogus packet.
Mhm.
I should let it free.
Mhm.
Okay. And then if it is the real one, then because whenever you are sending the packet, the source IP, the source MAC and the destination MAC will be reversed in the receive path, right?
Yeah.
And same thing will be happen for the IP address also.
Mhm.
So that is what I am doing here. I am just swapping the source and destination MAC and swapping the source and destination IP address.
Okay.
Also,
But
yes.
here, are you? What about the Ethernet checksum? Are you calculating the Ethernet checksum?
No, I'm not
Okay.
checking the calculator because
Okay.
Ethernet checksum is getting checked by the driver. So I am
Yeah.
the
So
driver. So I know
right. Yeah.
it's a right.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
no need to do that.
Uh-huh.
And as the IP header and the swapping, and then I'm just calculating the checksum of the ICMP header, because now the ICMP type is changed from the echo request to echo reply.
Mhm.
So I'm just calculating that one so that ICMP header can parse it properly, successfully,
Mhm.
and then send it back to the
So this is like actually pinging like a loopback IP address.
it's a pinging loopback, but it is done in the driver layer instead of in the loopback interface.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Anyone?
Guys, any other question with respect to this driver code or any other question which you want
One
to
question.
Yeah.
In case of a real hardware network interface card, what would be the flow for getting this IRQ called? And if you can specify a little about the handler, IRQ handlers.
Okay, so in case of actual network, instead of calling this LT underscore request underscore IRQ, you need to call request underscore IRQ function. Okay. And in this request underscore IRQ function, you need to provide the interrupt number for your Ethernet or the network driver. That information you will know from the hardware specification or from the PCI probing. And then you need to provide a function handler that is called the interrupt service routing, the ISR. So you need to provide a function which usually we call ISR. So then it will be registered to the Linux operating system interrupt handler module. Okay. So now, as if you are saying that if you are getting an interrupt number 10, please call this function, something like that. Okay. So now packet received and hardware generate an interrupt. So via interrupt controller module of Linux kernel, this ISR routine will be invoked. Now, as I said earlier, the interrupt could be various reasons. It could be RX, it could be TX down, it could be link up or down, it could be error and all that. So every condition has to be checked in that ISR function. And it's up to you in which order you are prioritizing this. Usually the RX is handled fast because that is the topmost priority, and that is the common case of occurring interrupt. Then the TX down and then link up down or the error case. Okay, so in the interrupt service routine, it actually disables the interrupt at the beginning, then get the packet from the or get the packet from the hardware controller using the mem copy using the CPU, or it can inform the DMA that, okay, this is the source address of the hardware controller where the packet is there. And these all sort of information can be retrieved from the register of that particular hardware controller. And those information will be mentioned in the hardware specification. Suppose there will be a register called interrupt register in the hardware specification, where one bit 1 means RX, the another bit will be for the TX done, the other 3 bits for the Irania case, 2 bit will be the link up and down and all and so forth. Okay. So it will check the, so in the service routine, it will read the interrupt register and determine the kind of interrupt it is means currently done, which need to be handled, and then it will check another few register to determine the source address of the hardware controller queue from where this packet needs to be copied to the primary memory. Those information it collects and share with the DMA and start the DMA. So DMA in the background, without disturbing CPU, will copy the packet from the hardware controller to the primary memory, and again notify the driver through a defined mechanism.
Yeah, thanks for answering. How about is it like TX done would be interrupted per packet, or it can be like in batch?
No, usually it from the hardware perspective, it is interrupted per packet. But again, when the driver is invoked or interrupted, it checks if there are other packets also which are in the TX done situation. So it will handle everyone to speed up the performance. If it is not done, then for every packet, the driver is supposed to get an interrupt from the hardware controller.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, Tathagata. So guys, any other question? Any technical question or anything you wanted to know about the courses as well? I saw in starting of the meeting, you guys were asking some question related to the entire course as well.
Can you please repeat once, like you can...
Sorry, you're not audible. Can you please come again? Yeah.
Can you please let us all know once more time, like if any courses or something related to that?
Sure, yeah, you can visit basically Linux Kernel Foundation for the courses what we have. Okay, we have a Linux Kernel internal network device driver and socket programming and all. And once you enroll for this course, you will get lifetime access, which means that you can repeat these 60-hour batches multiple times. There is no restriction. There's no limit defined. Like how many times you can repeat these courses, you can multiple times. And for more detail about the syllabus and what and all will covered in those sessions, you can probably just visit Linux Kernel Foundation website. Maybe after the session, I'll be maybe we can, we'll be sending you all a mail related to the courses what we have, so that you can get more details about the courses and the content.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
It will be basically from basic to advanced level, right?
Yeah, correct. So the basic prerequisite is C language, C++ language. You should be aware of. It's not language which we will be teaching. Okay, that is the prerequisite, and basic Linux commands. That's it. That's the prerequisite.
And will it cover practicals? Like, do we get an assignment or practically we have to do some project? Or some
Yeah, obviously. Yes, obviously. Yeah. We'll be sharing assignments and all, and then Basically, we'll start from C system programming, and then Linux kernel internals, and then Linux kernel code, and then Linux device driver stack, and then some drivers, for example, network device driver, and then maybe I2C driver, CUSI driver. So we'll be upgrading the course content over the time. And since you will be getting lifetime access, which means that you can take benefit of this, the upgraded course content as well in future.
Okay, thank you.
So if no further question, maybe
So,
we can, yeah.
I have a question. What about debugging this driver using Kprobe and extended Berkeley packet filter? Are you going to cover that part?
There are multiple methods of doing debugging in the device driver.
Mhm.
In the advanced level, you usually have the JTAG hardware debugger.
Mhm.
That is mainly used to know the current CPU condition, the CPU register, and all that. Because suppose you are in a very critical position and you are not getting interrupt. That's the most worst kind of issue that you can ever come into. Now you are not getting interrupt. So what will you debug? Because then you need to debug what is the current status of the hardware, whether all the registers are filled up properly, initialized properly, what is the current state of the CPU. So in that case, usually hardware debugger is a very powerful tool which can help you to know about the current situation, and then accordingly you can debug. Now I'm assuming that you are getting the interrupt and the packet is coming up properly, but then the packet is not going out. So yes, print K is one of the tool you can do, but it has some drawbacks also.
Yeah.
There are some KGDB and other profiling tool available in the Linux kernel that you can use. That what is the call stack, which function is getting called, why it is getting CPUXF and all that. So there will be two kind of issues that you will come across. One is the feature is not working, but the other is CPU is crashing, means the board is crashing or the driver is crashed. The second one is very difficult to debug. For that, again, a debugger would be very much useful, but otherwise you need to somehow call trace the code and going through the code and then understand, okay, this is the point where I'm getting the problem. So commenting out that one and then figuring out whether you are not getting CPU exception or not, and then dig more into that particular function or set of functions to find out the root.
Yeah, no. Yeah, my question is this debugging. Is it? Are you going to cover this debugging in this 60-hour class?
Yes. Yeah, we'll be covering debugging. So what Tathagata was saying is we have this debugging thing at each and every layer. For example, let's say for user space, there are different debugging tools, and then for debugging hardware, there are different hardware debugging tool and the software debugging tool. So yeah, we'll be discussing those debugging techniques at all the levels, and then we'll be also looking at the CrashDump tool and how to use that. How to analyze a crash dump for a given program.
Okay, so this hardware debugger like Lauterbach. I mean,
yes, very famous.
You're going to talk about that Lauterbach using?
No. I do not have that Lauterbach. Sorry.
Okay.
I do not have because it's too much costly for me to buy one Lauterbach debugger from myself. But yes, I use that Lauterbach in Linux system.
Okay. And what is the development environment that is required for us? I mean,
Ubuntu. I'm using Ubuntu 16.04, 64-bit in a virtual box.
So if I have Ubuntu 18.04 64.
That should be good enough. That should be good enough. The only thing that could create a problem for you, not a problem, is that will be a bother thing. That is that maybe some APIs is getting changed little bit from 16.04 to 18.04. So those sort of fine tuning may be required, but this is very less.
Okay. So do I need to when writing this network driver, do I need to get any NIC card or anything like that?
No, no. As you
Okay.
know,
It's,
But
it's
yes,
all
if
PC.
we are planning to do that on a particular hardware, then
Mhm.
we need to plan and figure out which driver, which device we should check.
Mhm.
PC is not a place to check it. We need to buy a hardware and then play with that.
Right, but no, but is it for this particular course? Do I need to buy a NIC card? That's my question.
No, I think no.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe you can, if you are interested, you can buy BeagleBone, which you might be already having.
Mhm.
Yeah, we can explain with respect to that. And yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thanks.
So if no further question, we can end this meeting. We'll post the recordings to you all. We'll give the link. And thank you all for attending this session, and thanks to Tathagata for taking this session. Thanks all. Stay tuned. Again, we'll be scheduling a few more webinars next week. Maybe same in networking, a layer of Linux kernel. So thanks for attending. Thanks all.
Thank you.
Thank you all for the
Yeah, thanks very much for organizing this webinar.
Thanks, Jason.